If you've been following the deconstruction space, perhaps you've come across C.J. Cornthwaite's recent video asking the question, did Judas Iscariot actually exist? Why doesn't Paul seem to know about Judas? Chris, if you're watching this, I want to say thank you for everything you do. I love your real, honest, and fearless biblical scholarship. I just wish you'd go a step further. Because if the Bible is only history, then really, what's the point, spiritually speaking? And if that history is invented or fanciful, then isn't that even worse? What is the purpose and value of the Bible? Hi, I'm David, and this is a place to explore the evangelical movement, support the journey of deconstruction, and ask, what's next? For someone from an evangelical background, anything that calls the historical accuracy of the Bible into question can be terrifying. Because if that history crumbles, then faith falls apart. But Chris's observation about Judas is important and uncovers a wider issue to do with the Bible as a whole. If you haven't had a chance to watch Chris's video, you'll find a link in the description. His conclusion is that the story of Judas is essentially a literary device. But I think he's missed the biggest clue as to why Judas is there at all. It's part of a pattern. And it's a pattern anyone can recognize, even if they do happen to subscribe to biblical inerrancy. To understand Judas, we have to go back to his namesake, Judah. Towards the end of the book of Genesis, we have stories about Joseph, and Joseph is widely acknowledged as a type of Christ. Just have a look at this list of similarities as compiled by Eric Raymond on the website thegospelcoalition.org. So Joseph's a dreamer, beloved by his father, his brothers hate him, and the one who suggests selling him to traders for silver is Judah. Fast forward to the Gospels. We have Jesus, the Saviour, beloved by the Father, and the one who sells him to the priests for silver is Judas. Now this isn't an accident, it's a spiritual sequel. The Bible is showing us a recurring pattern. So what does this mean for us? Emanuel Swedenborg looked at this pattern and saw that Judas represents the end of the Jewish church. He stands for external religion as it tries to sell out the internal divine love for profit and control. Now I need to be very clear here. When Swedenborg says Jewish church, he is speaking in spiritual terms. He's not talking about a group of people or an ethnicity. He is describing a spiritual state of mind. He is describing a state where religion becomes entirely external. It's all about the rituals, the rules, the appearance of holiness, but the internal love for God and the neighbour has been hollowed out. And that pattern was found in the Jews, the people who opposed Jesus. And the pattern repeats itself. Swedenborg saw this exact same Judas spirit in the Christian churches of his own time. And if we're honest, isn't that exactly what we see today? I wonder if you recognize anything here. Their worship was merely external, full of the loves of self and the world. The Word, the Bible, was altogether closed to them. They see the Word from without and not from within, excelling all others in the ability to keep up a holy external, although the internal was closed. Perhaps you left evangelicalism because you saw this betrayal firsthand. You saw a system that claimed to love Jesus but sold out his teachings for political power, for cultural dominance, for the silver. You saw a church that maintained the external appearance of righteousness, the right voting record, the right theology, the purity rings, but inwardly it denied the very spirit of love. That system is the Judas spirit. And stepping away from it isn't a sin. It's a recognition that this old church has to end for something new to begin. And the same is true for each one of us personally. Judas may be holding you back. You must leave those old attitudes behind to grow. So in the story, the Judas spirit has to die. It doesn't matter whether Judas actually existed as a historical person, but he is absolutely essential to the story. If you feel betrayed by the church, or if you feel like you are betraying your heritage by leaving, then take a breath. That breaking point might just be the mechanism required to move you from an external, rule-based religion to a resurrected, internal spirituality. You aren't losing your faith, you're just moving on from Judas. One final thing. It is possible, and I would argue even essential, to view the whole of the Bible in this way. Because if Paul did not know about Judas, then it is entirely possible that the writers of the Gospels also knew he was not a historical person. So why did they insert him into the narrative? Because the Bible was never intended to be a historical textbook. We have Wikipedia for that. The Bible exists to be a mirror. It tells us about our inner journey. And once you see the Judas pattern in you, you can finally leave it behind. And what we see in the story of Judas, we can see in other parts of the biblical narrative too. When you look back at the church culture you left behind, what was the silver? What was the thing they traded Jesus' love for? Was it political power, respectability, money? Let me know in the comments.